Team Spectrum, I hope you're well. As you can see, I'm not in Hong Kong. I'm in downtown Minneapolis, and if that city sounds familiar, this is where the Black Lives Movement restarted. It's not where it began. It actually began several years ago when similar instances of racism did occur, and it restarted again after I think people had enough. So the purpose of this is to find out how people are thinking and feeling, and whether this Black Lives Matter movement is in fact a movement or whether it's just a moment. So the street that I'm on is called Nicolette, and all the way down, this is one of the main streets, and most of the shops are boarded up with cork, so there was a lot of destruction, very similar to us, to what happened in Hong Kong, but a bit more here because they had more to destroy, I guess. So anyway, I'm going to go out and about, ask people a few questions and find out how they're feeling and thinking, and get the truth and help us decide whether we should always trust the media and what they say, or whether it's important to go to the source and find out exactly how people are feeling and what the facts are. Hi Nick, thanks for joining us. Question is, do you feel this change is permanent, or do you believe it'll go back to how it was?
I think for everyone, their biggest fear is for it to go back to how it was.
Yeah.
I believe everyone wants change, but I don't think this is the way to get it done. Like, I get it, the government has taken a lot more from us than we can ever know, but at the same time, we got to bring about change our own lives, and if we can do that, then I think everyone will be better off, honestly.
Okay, that's great.
I gotta look at the camera?
Yeah, you can if you would. Hi Shay, thanks for your time. Just let me know how you're feeling and what you're thinking about this Black Lives Matter movement. Do you think it's a movement? Do you think it's a moment? What was your take on all of it?
It's a movement or whatever, but I just feel like I'm young. Everybody is like innocent people now, so I'd rather just stay away from everything. I support the Black Lives Movement though.
Okay. How old are you?
16.
16. Do you feel like at this age you can make a difference in some way?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
I will.
What will you like to do? What is your hope?
I guess, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but probably like come up with a program or something, but I can also help by keeping myself out the way.
Okay.
Maybe people will fall in line with that. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's gonna be something.
Alrighty. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time, Shay. Have a great day.
You're welcome.
I have Bill with me. Thanks for joining, Bill. So my question is, if you feel that this could have been done different or better, how could it have been done differently or better?
Well, I think maybe the organizers of the protests could weed out the violent people in their crowds, or, have it that they can only protest when at certain times. Because when they protest at night, nothing comes of it except more people get violent. I'd like to see change, but I don't like to see all the violence.
That's great. Thanks, Bill. Hi, Malcolm. Thank you for joining us and for your time. So my question to you is, do you feel that the efforts of the protesting will make a permanent change for better, or do you fear it'll go back to how it was?
It'll be on a case-by-case basis, so I really can't say, good or bad, it depends on what happens in the future. Because we have one situation with George Floyd, that was a very bad case. I'm not sure if it can be any worse than that. I think that it's possible that it might go back to where it was.
Okay. What do you think will help make it be better so that Black lives are mattering? Do you think it'll take more protesting, or do you feel there needs to be a different kind of change?
Well, trying to figure out what change are you talking about? What kind of change?
What's one thing you think could help improve the city and the movement?
Well, depends on the president, as far as the jobs. That's
Okay.
important.
Okay.
So that's the most important thing is making sure that the people are fed.
Okay. People are fed and have jobs. Sounds good. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you for your time. Hi, Andre. Thank you for joining me. So the question is, if you could protest again, what would you say or do differently?
Well, basically, I wouldn't organize anything that would be in violence or anything that would tear down anything that we needed on an everyday basis. So therefore, this is the reason why we're doing this. You didn't come with a reason why. We understood you was upset, but then why are you upset?
That's great. Thanks so much, Andre. Cheers.
You have to address what you need. You have to tell the people what you want. You can't just get mad and say, hey, I'm upset, and not say, hey, what's wrong with me? This is what we need. We need housing. We need medical. We need mental health is a big issue. With these changes in times and with the times going as fast as before, times are going faster than ever before. So therefore, people in their mind psyche are actually mentally becoming ill. So that needs to be addressed.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Andre.
Yeah.
Hi, Jessie. I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and as someone who's grown up in Oakland and surrounding areas, which is the district of Kamala Harris, who is now Joe Biden's running mate, can you share with me an experience that you've had where you experienced racism firsthand and how that's affected you and members of your family?
Okay, I have a lifetime of these stories, unfortunately, and it comes with being black in America. But most recently, I was jogging through downtown Oakland, as I do every Saturday, and a car pulled up alongside of me, slowed down. Lady leaned out the window and threw up the Nazi salute and yelled "white power" at me and then sped off. So in this particular instance, I've learned to temper my emotions. I didn't respond in anger. And I'm a relatively large individual. I wasn't afraid for my safety. But I thought about times where I was a kid growing up and things like this happened. And I had to change my route home from work or home from school to avoid these people. I thought about my little cousins and my younger siblings. And if it had occurred to them, would that person been more bold? Would they be in danger? And that's unfortunately what it's like living out here. You have to keep all this temper down because other people don't understand that this is a reality that I face every single day.
So do you have a story that you can share with us? Because you did say you've got a lifetime of stories. So do you have a story of something that happened to you when you were younger that you could share with us that you believe still affected you or still happens to this day?
Okay, well, in high school, I went to a predominantly white high school. It's very popular. I was a student body president, also played basketball. And on my way to school in the morning, I would always drop my sisters off before I got to school. So we're walking to the car, and I noticed that someone had spray painted the N-word across my car. And instead of going to school that morning, I had to find poster board to tape it to the side of my car so it wouldn't be noticeable when I dropped off at my sister's. But also, I had to swallow my own anger so my sisters wouldn't respond in anger. It was my attempt to hide the ugliness of the world from them because they were too young to process it. And it wasn't until recently, almost 20 years later, that we finally spoke about it. And that even though they were elementary school children, they noticed the pain that I was feeling, and they internalized that to make sure that I was comfortable. So these things go unspoken and they happen every day, but it doesn't only affect the person, it affects the people around you. It doesn't affect the individual. So again, this is part of growing up out here. Also in the workplace, I worked in healthcare where I wrote policies and procedures for the emergency department, and the people that worked there would talk to me about sports or frivolous things, but they would never ask me about the initiatives that I was writing. They would ask someone else. You know, even though I am the architect of all their policies and procedures, they wouldn't ask me about it. And when they found out that I was the architect of these initiatives, it was always a surprise. So again,
because they didn't think you were capable, or you weren't the one doing it.
they didn't think I was the one.
So they underestimated you.
Not only underestimated, but just wouldn't give me the credit for the work that I was doing.
Right.
And the only way around that is to continue to do the work and to continue to succeed. And eventually the people around you will recognize your intelligence. But you're never afforded that assumption that these contributions are yours.
Okay. All right. Well, do you have anything for us at the youth of Hong Kong that you would like to share?
I would, and I share this with my staff at work and with my colleagues. When you see issues of racism, you have to say something. And I think we've gotten to a point, unfortunately, in this country where it's been normalized, where it's no longer shocking to see people of color dying at the hands of police, even though it happens every day. It's no longer shocking to hear about the inequities in healthcare that we experience here. We have to get to a point as a people where the people who aren't affected are as outraged as the people who are affected.
Okay.
And that's the only way that things will change.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ashley, for joining me today. As we know, you have got a bit of a story to share with us. But before you do, tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I am. I just turned 30. I'm living in California. I grew up in California, but I grew up in Southern California, and I currently live in Northern California. So, yeah, I'm half Armenian and half Black, and that made for an interesting experience growing up.
Okay.
Especially growing up in Los Angeles.
So what made it an interesting experience? Was it something that you've seen and heard throughout your whole life, or has it become more prominent now because of the Black Lives Matter movement? What have you experienced that you'd be happy to share with us, especially someone who is half and half like this?
Mhm. So growing up, particularly growing up in LA, the different groups in LA tend to, at least in schools, the public schools that I went to, you would often find that kids would gravitate toward people who were ethnically similar to them.
Okay.
And I didn't choose my friends that way, and so I would be, my friends were all great friends, but then the kids who tended to stick to their own kind, if you will, were not always friendly about the fact that I was different.
Okay.
Everybody in my high school, for example, everybody knew that I existed. And because typically you would find that Black students didn't like Armenian students, and Armenian students didn't like Black students, it seemed like I was supposed to be this impossibility. So everyone knew about me, even if they didn't know that I was that particular kid at my high school. And so oftentimes at lunch, for example, I would get stopped by people I didn't know, and they go, "Oh, are you that girl that's mixed?" And I would tell them yes. And then usually they'd have not mean comments. Some people would say, "Oh, that's cool," but a lot of people would be like, "Oh, that's just weird." And I'm like, "It's not weird. That's just me." And I would, then go to my group of friends who didn't care one way or the other. And I had a pretty diverse group of friends growing up, so I found my place among them based on shared interest rather than shared heritage. And then with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's something that I watch very closely, and it's something that means a lot to me. Mostly because it's very disappointing that we are still in a place where we have to keep fighting for equal rights, and that's true on so many different levels. And for a long time, I thought that I had been lucky, and it was something that I didn't have to experience and wasn't going to experience because we were always going to progress toward better and better things. And lately, it's just been disheartening to see where the country is at.
So it sounds like you identify more with being Black than Armenian, but do you feel like you are still torn, or have you now accepted the fact that yes, I am mixed, yes, I will support whoever needs support, and just live your life as best as you can? What are you doing to help with that situation?
I've never felt torn about who I am or felt like I was more one or the other. Um, I was actually raised with the Armenian side of my family just because they were closer. My mother is Armenian, and her family was always within the area, and so ethnically, I actually am closer to Armenian than I am to being Black, just because my father's side of the family was on the opposite end of the country. And he would at times keep his distance, and so I don't know them as well as I would like to. And there's also my father was older when I was born, so there's a little bit of disparity between me and my cousins. So I'm closer to my Armenian cousins because we're closer in age. We got to grow up together. But all that being said, living in America, I've never been anything but Black in anybody's eyes aside from my family. So it's not a conflicting situation for me. I don't feel the Black Lives Matter movement, everything that they stand for, everything that they're fighting for is what feels like should be common sense. Everybody should be on an equal playing field. And it just doesn't work out that way when people are allowed to be biased just based on what you look like. I also, in my case, still have a very lucky experience compared to many Black Americans where I have some privilege based on the fact that I'm mixed, based on the fact that my name does not sound ethnic. My maiden name was Jenkins, and on paper, that doesn't come up as looking like looking the way that I am, having the background that I do. And so that actually gets me a lot further. When we talk about things like looking for a job in America, ethnic names will oftentimes, even though you can look at two resumes, and one name can be very white and one name can be very ethnic, and they can have all the same qualifications, and the ethnic one will be thrown out just based on the name. So I know that I'm lucky there. Being mixed, my skin tone is lighter, and I know that that too actually works to my benefit, and that is not something that the Black Lives Matter movement talks about as much, but within Black communities there are conversations about it's called colorism, where even when you look at two Black people, the one who looks lighter is the one who will benefit more. And so it's something that I've been very aware of for a long time. And so even in trying to fight for equality, I have to try to lift others up as well.
So what do you do for work then? Tell us what you currently do for work.
I'm currently working at an elementary school, and I am their technology and data manager. So I spend a lot of my time doing system database work, but I'm also lucky enough that I get to spend some of my time teaching the students as well. So I get to have a connection point with a lot of young lives. And I know that particularly being a minority within the school, that means a lot to some of our other families who have similar experiences.
So if you could impart one piece of wisdom and encouragement to the youth of Hong Kong, what would that be?
Ooh. That is, that's a tough one. I suppose the wisdom that I try to live by, that I would want to see more of, is to do the right thing for everybody. And if that means that you need to fight, then you need to fight.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for being quite open and honest with us and giving us an important but and different perspective on how to live our lives in this new world that we have. Alrighty, take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.